Welcome to another episode of Hazard Times Double Feature, where I'm going to be reviewing two movies that I found at rummage sales that you probably never heard of. Or maybe, because these two movies do have somewhat decent of casts. First up, we have The Great New Wonderful and Game 6. There you go, Game 6. Honestly, I don't even remember where I got these from. I just have so many rummage sale movies that I've gotten so many. I probably have more than 100 of these movies lined up for me to watch at some point, and not really looking forward to any of them. But yeah, I'll start off with The Great New Wonderful. This is supposedly a comedy, because I'll tell you, it wasn't funny at all. I didn't really see moments that it was supposed to be funny, so maybe I'm just not the right generation or anything, but it says a brilliant comedy on the thing, and it was not a brilliant comedy. It was an okay movie that was moderately interesting and, yeah, moderately interesting is the best word to describe it. Basically, this is about a bunch of people post 9/11, about a year after 9/11, and just telling the stories of their lives. It's supposed to be like vignettes, so to speak. Vignettes. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But basically, it's like four stories, and yeah, it's just four random stories in New York, and I mean that's really it. There's no like payoff or connection to any of this or real purpose. Just telling a story without any real reason or motivation. I mean, I would understand if these were like interconnected somehow, because isn't that movie Crash that won Best Picture, but everyone doesn't know why it won Best Picture. That movie Crash, isn't that like interconnected? It seems separate. It seems like a bunch of separate stories at first, but then they slowly become more interconnected as time goes by. And this does have a fairly decent cast of people, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Stephen Colbert, Jim Gaffigan, Judy Greer, Tony Shalhoub, Jim Parsons, who I've never liked Jim Parsons, and I still don't like Jim Parsons. But anyway, the four stories. There is Jim Gaffigan's like an office worker, and he's talking to this therapist the company hired, and that's it. They talk about his life, and until he like hits Tony Shalhoub over the head. Tony Shalhoub plays this therapist. He hits Tony Shalhoub over the head, and then he just walks away. Yeah, and then Maggie Gyllenhaal plays like a pastry chef who's dating Will Arnett, who's in the movie for like 2 scenes, and she wants to, bake a cake for this rich girl's birthday party. She's hoping that like this cake will be her big break if she makes it. And Jim Parsons works for her, and also the priest from Walking Dead also works for her. I think Seth Gilliam, I don't know. And her friend commits suicide. I wasn't sure who her friend was. They were like, "Oh, so-and-so just committed suicide." I'm like, "Oh crap, who is that? Let me go look at IMDb, see who that is." Like, "Oh yeah, it's the blonde lady from earlier." Yeah, that's about it. She wants to bake the cake. And then there's an old lady who's like married to some old guy, and she's unhappy with her marriage, and so she starts hanging out with some guy from her high school, and eventually she finds out that he's married, so she's upset about that, and she goes back to her husband and then tries to push her husband off the ledge of the railing patio or whatever, to try and kill him, and then it ends with showing that things are better for them. So it's an old lady unhappy with her marriage. Then there's another couple, Judy Greer and who I can assume is Tom McCarthy, because he's listed on there. They're married and they have a son, and the son's like a psychopath, and so they're dealing with that. Stephen Colbert is like the principal of the son's school, and at the end their happy ending is sending the son to a mental hospital so they can have more time for themselves, which is like a little weird, but okay. Then the fifth story, which I guess there's 5 stories. I don't know why I said 4, or if I said 4, but the fifth story is like two security guards. I think they're like I think they're guarding like an ambassador for India or something. They call him the general. Maybe the general's just visiting India. I don't know. But yeah, they're just guarding India, and they're just guarding this general guy, and the one bodyguard's really angry, and the other bodyguard's kind of wanting to cheat on his wife, and he does, and then I guess the wife leaves him, but he's still working as the bodyguard. Okay. But yeah. I mean, there's really not much to say about it. It's just kind of stuff happens with these stories, and stuff happens to these people, and I mean, like I said, mildly interesting, but no real payoff to make it worthwhile. But so whatever. Next, you get Game 6, starring Michael Keaton and Robert Downey Jr. So it's like it's got some names to it. Catherine O'Hara too, the mom from Home Alone. She's in this. You got the Vulture and Iron Man in the movie again, even though they didn't interact in Homecoming, which I guess there was no place for them to do it. Basically, Michael Keaton is a playwright, and he's got his new play coming out, and he's worried about Robert Downey Jr.'s character, because Robert Downey Jr. plays a movie theater critic who is notorious for giving out scathingly bad reviews for theater plays. And the whole thing is also centered around Game 6 of 1980-something World Series, where I guess it was like a famous game. The Red Sox were maybe going to win the World Series, but they don't because they're the Red Sox, and the Red Sox suck. And Michael Keaton is a Red Sox fan, and he's nervous about the game, and I don't know, he's got a friend, and his friend's like, you should kill Robert Downey Jr. because he sucks, so he's worthy of dying. And Michael Keaton almost kills him, but then he finds out that Robert Downey Jr. is also a Red Sox fan, and so they just start talking about Red Sox, and the movie just ends. It was okay. Probably the better of the two, because they're good actors. Like Michael Keaton is a good actor, Robert Downey Jr. is a good actor, so they give good performances. But this feels very forgettable. Like, you're not going to remember this movie. It's not going to leave an impact on you. And I feel like they were trying to do more with the Red Sox angle of it. Like, I don't think the movie was as deep as they thought it was. But yeah. Honestly, there's just not a whole lot to say about this. They're just, these are all these boring, lame, forgettable early 2000s movies that you just don't care about. There's just so many of them, because there's just thousands of them, and I've got so many of them on DVD, and I don't care about them. And you can't say anything about these because there's nothing to say. So I don't know why I'm even doing reviews about these movies. I'm just telling you that these movies exist, basically, and that they're not worth watching. Maybe I'll get to a movie that'll be worth watching, but I'm already questioning this, and it's only the second episode. But yeah, there you go. That's been my review for A Great New Wonderful and Game 6. Doesn't matter that I didn't see games 1 to 5. I should have made that joke earlier. It would have worked a little better in the beginning of the video. But anyway, that's the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to tune in next time.